And this has been my kitchen.
You're gonna make a tasty meal. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You cute.
Has Mom not ever told you not to play with your food?
Well, I was just talking to it and ensuring it that it's going to go into something really nice and delicious, like our seafood Alfredo with seared scallops. And now let me show you how we're going to prepare that. So sorry, Timmy. I have to peel your skin off. I know it hurts. Oh, I know it hurts me too. But we have to muddle through these things because you're going to be very tasty. Okay, so we're going to peel off all of our shrimp. And we have 2 bags full of large tiger shrimp, or large pieces of large shrimp. So I just took the skin off of all these, and let me show you a little trick in deveining your shrimp. So what you're going to do is you're going to break this back a little bit until you hear like a little snap. Watch that vein move, and we're just going to go up underneath the skin part on the top, kind of coax that top tip out, and if you have to use your thumb to dive into its skin there, that's outer shell there, then do so. Then we're going to pull very gently, or actually, if you can see it's more affixed to coming down from the bottom, so let's try it from down here. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing with our thumb. We're going to try to break through the first layer of its skin. So we come to its vein, and then when you get there, kind of use your fingernail to kind of go down and grab gently the vein. And it's being a little tricky. Come on, vein. Come on, vein. Oh, wait, here, it's coming out the top. So however it's easiest for you, from the top to the bottom or the bottom to the top, just gently pull that vein out. It might come out in several segments, but we'll get it eventually. We'll get it. You just kind of work your way down if you have to, or for quicker measure, if you have to, when you get a good grip of it, just pull gently back, and you should be able to get that whole vein out of there, just like that. There's the vein. Alright, luckily I have taken the liberty of preparing all of this shrimp for you before we started filming, so let's get all of the shrimp into the pot. Why don't we say we bring the pot over so that we can just put the shrimp in it and put it back on the heat. Okay, so we're just going to drop that in the water there. Make sure that they are all deveined, deskinned. No skins going in there because you don't want to accidentally bite down on shrimp skin. But sometimes it happens. You just kind of watch out for any, like see that piece of shell right there. Just watch out for any pieces of shell that may have been left behind. Or what you can do for a preventative measure, you can take and run these under cold water. Make sure that all those shell pieces are off of your shrimp.
Yeah, remember the last time we made this? Remember what happened the last time?
Oh, I remember what happened last time. Okay, so we're going to cook this on a lower heat, like around 4. And then anything like shells, shrimp legs, anything like that needs to be tossed because we don't want to wind up getting this back into our food. And then wash, rinse off the hands. Okay. Now, I've done seafood Alfredo in the past, but I haven't done it quite like this before. So last time we had a whole bunch of seafood and we were throwing everything together, and this is how you do it. Well, it's easy as pie. We're going to do the same thing here. We've got 4 packages of linguine. We've got 2 bags of large shrimp. We've got a couple of 2 or 3 bags of these crab legs. They're imitation, I know, but the money that I went to spend on this meal and another meal that cost a lot kind of doesn't leave room for real crab meat, unfortunately. So we have to kind of make sacrifice. So we're going to just take those crab legs and just chop them on down into smaller pieces. Now the reason why I like to buy the crab legs and rather than the pre-sliced crab meat that they pre-package? Well, because I like to select the size of crab meat that goes into my dish, also to prevent too much flaking, because imitation crab meat loves to flake, and this stuff, since we're working with bigger pieces, doesn't necessarily flake. You can make them as big or as small as you want on these, by the way. And we're just gonna kind of slice our crab legs, our imitation crab, right like down like that. Let's just do this whole bunch, just like that. Okay, now we're gonna pick up this whole thing and right into our water. There you go. Very careful not to let them flake or break. And just kind of knock those right on in. Okay. These are our scallops. We are going to use sea scallops. Now this is the pricey part of this dish. You get sea scallops, you get those really big scallops, and there's a reason for that, because what we're going to do is we're going to take the thicker ones and we're going to slice them in half to make them all the same kind of width, and then we're going to throw them into that frying pan and we're going to sear it with some butter and some garlic. They're going to taste out of this world until both sides of your scallops are going to be singed a little, ever so slightly, and it's going to draw in all of that butter and garlic flavor. So it's going to be out with the fish taste and in with something more flavorful. Now in this pot we're going to be putting our linguine noodles into, so let me get my noodle spoon. There's our noodle spoon. We're going to need this. We're also going to need some salt and some vegetable oil to prevent the noodles from sticking. You will need those two key items for your water, because if you put all those noodles in together into one stock pot like this, those noodles, especially the ones on the bottom, are going to stick together like nobody's business. So what you do is you add vegetable oil, not olive, not canola, not peanut, just regular old vegetable oil. Vegetable oil is slicker, it's got a more slippier tone to it, so that way your noodles will not stick together. And we're just going to carefully stir our fish pieces and kind of break up that crab meat, and stirring very gently, because see, it's starting to unravel there. That's how you can tell it's imitation, when it starts to unravel, and we're trying to prevent as much unraveling as possible. But I mean, some things can't be helped. Well, actually one thing can be helped: get real crab meat. But since that's not possible, wasn't possible this time around, try to get the real crab meat. But if you only have imitation, the imitation will be just fine. But we are going to be taking our scallops to a 5-star level, and that's what's going to be going onto the side of our seafood Alfredo. Now, once this starts to get bubbling and boiling up, we're going to actually turn this up a little higher and get the boiling process started in our water. Then when it starts boiling and we're getting a good rolling boil going, we're going to turn down the heat to a medium-high, about 6, and we're going to drop in our oil and our salt, which is going to help break up all of the starch that's in our water. And then we're going to drop in our noodles, one packet at a time, and make sure that they're all so separated and stirred, ready for the next package. And we're going to do the same thing over and over again, so we know that no pieces of those noodles are going to be sticking together. So that's going to be a lot of noodle, but we're very hungry and we want to eat sometime this year. So you're starting to boil a little bit, so now I'm going to add the oil. And you need a good splash or two for this amount of noodle. About that much. Because you're going to need as much of that oil in that water as possible. So let's get that going. And then, next for the salt. The salt, you add enough to where it becomes salt water, and that's going to break up all of the starch that collects in our water. So we're going to let the water come to a little bit of a boil, and while we're doing that, let me go for our packages of noodles. These are linguine noodles that I like to use for this particular recipe. And you can use linguine, you can use any type of noodle. You can use spaghetti noodle if you want to. Alright, it's starting to boil a little bit more. that along a little bit and just give it a little stir. Agitate our ingredients for a little bit. And we'll just drop the first package of linguine into our stock pot. Now with the noodle spoon, we're going to push those noodles down into the pot. Get them all nice and separated but coated with the oil. And coating it with the oil ensures no stickiness, because we don't want sticky to our noodles. And we don't want to pull up a humongous bunch of noodle. We want all noodles to be separated, and by doing so we are going to just take our noodle spoon and just give it a good stir, combining all the ingredients, the salts. You can see the salt foaming up now, and you can see that the oil on the noodles have become, has basically enabled the noodle not to stick to each other. That's good. Let's get our second package bag. Same thing before. Any packages of noodles that you add, immediately push it down with your noodle spoon and stir it amongst whatever is in there. If you got other noodles in there, stir them with the other noodles. Make sure that they all don't stick together. Give them a really good stir. That oil is really going to help keep them from sticking to each other, and that's what we really, really want. We want to make sure nothing sticks together. And we're just going to go down into the, try to get to them down to the bottom of all of that noodle and pull some up. Make sure they don't stick. Make sure they don't stick. Pull them up, make sure they're no stickies.
They're not stickies?
Yeah, make sure they're no sticky. We run a no sticky noodle policy in this kitchen. Let me show you. See something like, you see that big clump of noodle there, like there, right there? Without oil, that would remain exactly just like that. But with the oil, see how easy they separate just by running your noodle spoon right through them, and they all separate. So just keep that stirring going. If you happen to see a big cluster of noodle, just kind of run your noodle spoon right through them, kind of separate them a little bit and help that along to ensure that nothing's going to stick. So once you're satisfied that your noodles will be stick-free, oh man, I bent my noodle spoon. How did I do that? It's plastic. How in the world did I do that, folks? Anyway.
Very carefully, apparently.
And looking at our fish, fish looks fine. Okay, now, we're going to wait until a little bit later to do our scallops. It's not going to take long for these babies to cook up. So what we're going to do is we're going to let these two boil until the completion. We're going to put them in bowls, set them aside. Our Alfredo sauce is going to go into that bowl with the seafood reincorporated and reintroduced back in. So we're going to stir them in carefully as the sauce cooks. Those seafood bits are going to go back into our sauce. Meanwhile, this is going to stay on the boil. We're going to turn this down to a 5. Make sure you do turn that down. You don't want your water to boil over. And in that frying pan, we're going to do our scallops. And I'm going to show you how to do that when that time comes. So join me when all of that is ready to come together. I'll show you the next step. Just ease back and let your creations happen. So we're in the starting stretch of this big recipe, and I can't wait to see how this is going to turn out. One thing though, before we go, imitation crab meat does not take long to cook at all. Just heat it up in water. They're ready to eat actually, right out of the package. But to check on the shrimp, I'm going to just grab one. Oh yeah, that's good. See, when you start seeing them turn red like that, that means that they're getting done. Now you can leave them to cook in however long you want to, but just remember, if you leave that in with high heat and you cook those fast, that shrimp is going to shrink down like this. And you don't want tiny shrimp in your seafood Alfredo. You want nice big pieces of shrimp. And especially since we're working with large instead of the jumbo, which I would really love to have. But if they're about this size, keep that in mind. You don't want them to shrink. Just cook them slow. Cook them slow and don't cook them for very long. They don't need to be cooked for very long. Just let them stay in that hot water. Turn this down to 4 maybe. You don't need to boil those. Just let them heat up in that water. And when it comes time, I'm going to show you when we're ready to go to the next step. And then we're going to drain all that out. Noodles should be still worked on, being worked on. But we are going to need this for our Alfredo sauce. So we're going to drain all of our seafood pieces off, get our sauce in there, and then reintroduce the seafood back into the sauce, and then carefully mix it in. And then we're going to turn it on low heat to keep the sauce warm while the noodles finish cooking. And then, and only then, I will be ready for the scallops, and I'm going to show you how to do that when that time comes. This is going to be one great meal for anybody in your family to enjoy. And with the amount we're making, it would probably feed the whole neighborhood. But let's not get that generous. That is a lot of noodle. Look at how that noodle cooked up. But that's just the consistency we want. Nice and tender, not too al dente. Perfect. Now, that's the perfect time to pull up our shrimp. As you can see, beautiful light orangish color. And we're going to drain that right off into our strainer. And remember, those crab, the imitation crab is going to just look at that, we got some stray skins from the shrimp. Just going to rinse that out, make sure that we got everything rinsed before we put our sauce in there. Okay. Now, I'm going to put our seafood into this bowl for the moment. After we've drained all the water out, I'm just going to put all that seafood right into that bowl.
Look how that one unraveled.
That one really unraveled. Okay. Now we got a rinsed pot. So what we're going to do with that, now we're going to take and open up our jars of Alfredo. Okay, let's go ahead and turn this back on to 5. Now we're going to take this beautiful bowl of seafood that we just drained. Make sure there is no excess water. I don't see any. And we're just going to lightly place our seafood back into the sauce. Use our spoon to kind of help it along. Okay. Help that along. Okay. Now we're just going to fold the seafood into the sauce. Gently, because the crab meat is going to be so delicate. Well, I know it's wrong to call it crab meat. We should call it imitation, for the imitation that it is. I'm just going to fold that back in, take that crab meat and put it back into our pot. To hold the spoon. We're going to need to move this back. So let's turn that on to 5. Turn this up a bit more. This is going to be our scallops. I'm going to open up these bags of scallops. You know, this is going to take a little bit, so let me just stop that in its tracks. I'm going to turn that back on when we're ready. First, we must prep our scallops. Since they don't seem to include an easy open access, we're just going to cut that open, because I don't want to have to sit here and figure out which side to open if it's not going to tell me. Just cut it open. How about that? Alright. Now, take your scallops out of the package. You're going to drop them right back into that strainer there. And what we're going to do is going to rinse those off really good so they don't get a fishy flavor to them. And then we're going to do some magic on these guys, you bet. So cut that open. Because when you open these up, you're going to be hit with a really strong fishy aroma. Okay. Now, with some cold water, has to be cold water. Cold, cold, cold. Very cold. We're going to rinse our scallops. This will rinse off all the fishy aroma, the fishy flavor off of your scallops. So run those under cold, 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 cold water. Okay, so keeping the cold water on it, we're going to just grab, well, that one just kind of crumpled off, didn't it? So grab that, we're going to grab our knife. Now, we're going to cut these down into half, right like that. Because we don't want them too thick. We want these to go around too, so cutting them down in half will double your amount of scallops. right down the middle, right there. So all pieces of scallops get cut right down the middle there. Okay. These are sea scallops that we're working with. How delicate they are too. Very, very delicate. Okay, so what we're going to do is take this whole thing right over to the sink. This is the real butter right here. And we're going to use half of what's ever left in that stick, maybe a little bit more than that. Here. Perfect. Toss that down. Cover the rest of that up and we'll use it for something else. Now for our garlic. Butter melt down. Give ourselves another stir. Put you down a low so you don't melt the oil. Ooh. Watch out for that butter, it likes the pot.
Yeah.
Okay. Try and keep our scallops as dry as possible. Shake off any excess water. Drop them down into that pan. There we go. Just drop them down. You're going to notice that your garlic is going to start to brown really fast, and this pan has to stay hot, hot, hot. So we're going to try to drop these down as quick as possible. When working with scallops, you have to be fast. You have to be accurate. You have to be fast. Okay. That. Down there. Keep it moving as you're adding it. That will cook everything, prevent from everything cooking too fast. So keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving. All right, keep it moving, keep it moving. Less water, the better. You are working with butter here after all. Okay, perfect. Look at that garlic. Perfect. It's not too overdone. Coating over our pieces nicely. Give them a good swish. Keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving. And now, you reach for the magic ingredient, Old Bay. Old Bay is perfect for bringing out the flavor of fish, seafood, pork, chicken, anything that you wish. And this is going to make your scallops taste less fishy and more flavorful. All right, you got those pieces on there, looks nice. Give it a little swish here. Kind of be delicate with your scallops because they are delicate. They are a delicate delicacy. Okay, now we're at the spot now where we got enough scallops in there to help to not burn it right away, because now that pan has cooled off a little bit from throwing the scallops in there, so it cooled off just a tiny, tiny bit. So now we can take a little break from swirling and just kind of push our pieces around a bit to make sure that they get even cooking on the one side. And then, once we are satisfied with that one side turns out, we're going to take and we're going to flip each piece over. And notice how the garlic is remaining that beautiful color. Because we got the scallops there to help counter the temperature in our pan. So the garlic isn't going to turn black. If they do turn black though, don't worry about it, because it's very common practice for working with garlic, especially sauteing. So this is pan sauteed scallops that we are making here, and this is going to be our side dish to our beautiful seafood Alfredo pasta. All right, starting to smell beautiful already. Let's turn that piece over. Yeah. All right. Not quite where we need to be. We need to really make these browning. We need the brown color to really come out. And if we can singe either side of our scallops as they cook in that butter. And this is one of the reasons why you shake out any excess water, because water will help prevent getting the type of texture that you want in your scallop. Because if you have water in there, it's not going to singe very well on either side of your scallops. And we want a little singe to go. So now you can take the time, kind of turn over your scallops. Okay, so they're not really at that area we need to be just yet. So keep it on a very hot temperature. It needs to be at an 8 or higher. No lower than 8 though. And just keep that there. You'll reach the consistency you're looking for before too long. But if you feel that you're leaving it down there to cook a little bit too much, give it a good swish. Start turning them over. Start checking out both sides of your scallops. Make sure you got the right consistency on either side. Give it an occasional swish to make sure to prevent overcooking. This is a little instant precautionary step that us cooks take. When we do this, we're preventing them from sitting in one spot for too long. And when they sit there in one spot for too long, you run the risk of singeing your food and overcooking it. But by doing this, not only are you coating your food with all the ingredients you have in your pan, but you're also preventing them from sitting still too long and getting too overcooked by just sitting there. So you gotta really keep that moving. Now, when you're at a spot where you know you can stop and have a look, just let that sit there for a bit. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to do anything. So you check both sides of your scallops, and if it's not quite what we need, we might need to leave this alone for just a tiny bit, let them cook on one side, and then we'll swish it again. We'll check the other side. We'll make sure that they're coming along. But we want our scallops to be cooked nice and sauteed with that butter and garlic and that Old Bay to give it some flavor. All right, so there we go. Give it a little swish. And you can tell by smell how you're coming along on your scallops. And this can be some good stuff here. Okay, so let's take and see. Oh, that looks good. That looks good. Okay. That looks great. That's what we're supposed to be. Right. That looks beautiful. 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 Okay. Let's just go ahead and turn some of those over. And let them cook on the other side now. No need to swish it, just turn them over. Turn them over. One piece at a time. One piece at a time. Turn them over. 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 Oops, turn back over again. Turn over. There we go. Okay, turn over. Okay. Over. Good. Over. Good. Turn over. Yeah, and that butter helps really bring the coatability out in your scallops. Look at that. That's beautiful. 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 I am impressed. Look at this. This is good cooking, folks. This is really good cooking right here in the kitchen. Look at that. Oh, I am so excited. This is what your scallops are supposed to look like right here, folks. And then, after we've turned them all over and let them cook on the other side for a while, then we can run a taste test and see how far along we're coming. Okay. Turn that one over. And finally, that one. Now, we're done swishing for now. We're just going to let these other sides cook for a little bit and make sure that they don't stick now, because you're now starting to have less butter in your pan. So to prevent sticking them, kind of give them a little nudge and make sure they're not sticking to the pan too much. Okay, good. Okay, so now once we got that out of the way, now let's take back a look back over here where we started. Yeah. Okay, good. Great. Great. Okay. They cooked the other side perfectly. Okay, now let's give them a swish and see. That is beautiful scallop right there. Right there, folks. Now comes the important task, the taste testing. Every good chef tests their quality. Ooh, that's hot. Brilliant. A little more Old Bay. A little more Old Bay. You can never have too much Old Bay, but that will give it its nice flavor. Okay. Give it a swish. That is beautiful scallops. Look at that. Look at that. Okay, that needs to be cooked on that side. Cook more on this side. Flip over. There we go. And it needs to be over here. Okay, good. Keep it moving. Keep turning. Be very delicate. These are the perfect sauteed scallops that you will ever eat, folks, right here. And I'm telling you, if you learn how to master this, there's no limit to what you can do in the kitchen. Okay, that looks good. Alright, turn that off. Turn that off. Let this cool off over here for some noodles. Now, usually, you wash these in cold. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a couple of good spoonfuls at a time, wash them in, or hot water rather, before I serve them. They're going to be washed in hot water to wash off any excess oil, starch, anything else. We're going to take just a colander full of noodle. I'm just going to turn it on to hot water, rinse it off in the hot water. See, those noodles are starting to look cleaner already. Ooh, that's still hot, good. Okay, and we took the extra measure to wash our noodle. Now we can take our noodle right from the colander onto our plates. Right there. Right there. Okay. A little bit there, a little bit there. Do a couple of spoonfuls. I'll add another one in case they're really hungry. So I know I'm going to be. And we're going to save this part here for our scallops. So, from the pan, right to the plate. We got 1, 2, 5. Let's do 6. Okay, put them back on the hot part of the burner. Now we're going to take our plate over and grab some sauce with our ladle. Okay, a little bit of that extra mix. Okay, you've got the shrimp, the crab right there. You just kind of drizzle it right over the top of your noodle, and it's got the seafood and everything in it. Do this slowly because sauce is valuable, especially Alfredo. Okay, good spoonfuls of that. Now, let's get the cheese parmigiana on and sprinkle of cheese parmigiana. Okay, and I always like to finish off with just a squirt of lemon right on the top there. All right, I'm gonna grab a fork real quick. And I did see here bird out of the corner of my eye here. Hi, Ben.
Yeah, you did.
Come on over here.
He heard you. Really?
Not just your eyes. Bring it over here. Have a look at that. That is food Alfredo with pan.
Shoot. Oh, shoot.
Oh, shoot.
That's what,
Oh, shoot.
That's what I said. That's what I said. Oh, shoot. Kids, don't rewind.
That's okay, I can edit. But take a look at that. That's seafood Alfredo with shrimp and crab meat, imitation crab meat, and Alfredo sauce over the top of that, and then we have pan sauteed scallops. Try it.
Okay.
Give that a chest test. Alrighty. Holy shoot.
Oh, shoot. Let me get your prime editing material. Holy shoot. There you go.
So, how do you like it? There you go, folks.
Well, that answered your question, didn't it?
So that just goes to show that you can be a whiz in the kitchen with the right ingredients and the right know-how to cook each little ingredient.
Now it's your turn to try.
Look at how beautiful that turned out. I don't think Chef Gordon Ramsay could have done even better.
Careful, he might come at you on Twitter.
Oh, he might. You never know.
True.
He's always watching.
I know it. Always watching, always commenting, and he's a regular Simon Cowell when it comes to food.
You already know he does that just because he's on TV.
Well, yeah, and besides, he's a 5-star chef, of course.
He's still a good guy, even though it's just
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of. he does it. He picks on, he roasts chefs, you know, on TV for a reason. Just, you know.
Well, not only that, but people who write in on Twitter. He likes to some of the cooks that you know show him the recipe. They like to go after him too with something that they know looks foul and really bad looking, and they still show it to Chef Ramsay because they want to get a rise out of him.
Well, they do it.
Okay. Just a spoonful of noodles helps the Alfredo sauce go down in the most delightful way.
You hope you don't get sued by Disney.
If Disney's on the rise again, I'll be just like a friend and make a parody that's for everyone. I won't say any dirty words. Okay, that's enough. I want to experience the full extent of pan sauteed scallops with today's meal. What are you doing with that? Good. Taking my Parmigiana. Come on, crap, stay on the plate.
Doesn't want to stay on.
No, it doesn't. Okay, fork. Need fork. Fork.
Fork.
Okay. Some Parmigiana. Good. And, not to forget, my signature touch, a little squeeze of lemon right on the top there. Alright, great. And let's do a taste test for my own taste buds to enjoy seafood Alfredo with pan sauteed scallops, butter and garlic and Old Bay right in it. Let's give this a taste. Okay, here we go. That's good. And now, by itself. Folks, there is a reason why scallops are so expensive, because they're so damn good if you cook them right. Oh man, I'm in heaven. Oh, it reminds me of being back home in the Catalina Islands. I've never been to the Catalina Islands, but that's beside the point. So good. Wonderful. But don't just take my word for it. See how easy it is to prepare this in your home with seafood Alfredo and pan sauteed scallops. Now you don't have to use the same type of seafood that I used tonight. You can use anything you want to. You can use mussel if you want to. You can use squid if you want to. You can use octopus if you want to. You can use anything from the ocean you want. Throw it in there, mix it up really good. When you do your pan sauteed scallops, make sure that they have a really good texture. They're a beautiful brown color, and very important, butter, garlic, and Old Bay. Those three together will give your scallops something to make your taste buds sing about. So, for cooking with SonicBlu, this is SonicBlu Dark Bulb telling you, if you're not cooking good, you're not eating good, and this is what I call good eating. Try it for yourself and see. Wait for our water to boil. Wait for our water to boil. We're waiting for the water, waiting for water to boil. And we're waiting for water to boil. And we're waiting for water to boil.
Is it boiling yet?
It's starting to. It's starting to get a little bit of a bubbling going. We need for it to become a rolling boil, and that way it'll have mix up the oil and the salt together. And that way it'll ensure that both ingredients will be dispersing evenly in our water by the power of science and technology.
You call that science and technology? Okay.
Well, not more technology, more science. More science, less tech.
I was just like,
Well, they got the technology of the stovetop and the science of adding heat to water, which makes it boil, which then in turn will help disperse your ingredients within your vessel of choice, in this case, a stock pot.
Gotcha.
So suddenly, SonicBlu has now become Bill Nye the Science Guy.
When did you become him?
I have no idea.
I don't know either, that's why I was asking.
If you cook this on high heat and you cook them too fast, that shrimp is going to shrink down to about this. You don't want shrunken shrimp. Let me try that again. Old Bay is sensational on seafood, scallops, anything you want to bring out the flavor of, and that's a little too much Old Bay.